question. Thank you for having me. It was actually after more than 13 years of ministry and serving in the church. So I think it's time to take a short break. So this is more like a sabbatical. It is supposed to be 3 months. So the whole idea is, of course, to spend some time with family and also to do a little bit of reading. And more importantly is to take a short break before breakdown. No? I think that is very important. Yeah. So the plan actually initially is okay, but when I was in the overseas, trying to be away from the normal routine. Then in Germany, that was near the end of January. And during that time, when first arrived in Germany, the situation, is a bit, tense. Actually, there was this situation, the COVID-19 pandemic is being confirmed for the first case end of January in Germany, and that city is actually quite close to the place where I'm staying. So actually that's why you can see this is a bit of situation which is unexpected, and people are getting nervous, anxious, and what is going on. It's just like all the countries in the world, they are trying to prepare to respond and trying to contain the situation. It get more, escalating, So this is the first situation that I encountered there. And then of course the second one is the change of government, Malaysian government, which is really, of course unexpected. So these are the two great events happened during this short break. But of course, come back to COVID-19, which is still one of these major, as the situation is getting worse, throughout the whole world. Then Malaysia also trying to implement the MCO, Movement Control Order. And at the time, Germany also started. So I'm in the limbo of how to, make decision, instead of staying there or how. So at the end, after prayer and consideration, probably I think that I should come back earlier, and then the issue is because the flight was cancelled. That's why it made me to make the decision that I should come back earlier instead of waiting, because the original flight cancelled, the airports cease operations, or even airlines cease operation. So that's why it's good that I should come back, because I also thinking of family, and of course the church also, how could we, during this challenging time. So that's why I came back earlier, and then also I talked to the ESCO that I should be returning back to the office earlier, so that this is due to the uncertainty of this COVID-19 and the government MCO and many of the things challenging us. Yeah, you are right, because each culture, race, religions, they have their own kind of, manifestations of their own identity, just like what you have shared a few. Of course, for Christians community, like Good Friday, like Easter, all these are so important for us. And this is probably, as far as, we can recall. For us, we experienced, this is the first time that we couldn't, physically present to commemorate and to celebrate, our own festivals or those important events. But of course, when all of us living in this very diverse culture, and race and religions society in Malaysia. So actually, it really brings us, something very new. That all of us actually are equal in front of the virus. None of us have exceptions, if we don't take good care of ourselves. So actually, this is why, it teaches, something that, we should think about, okay, during this pandemic time. But of course, for Christians, we have to see it, from very different perspective, because situation like this, how could we, live out, as a believers, as a Christians, despite we couldn't, physically present, but we still, have more opportunity to do, like for instance, Sunday I could actually tune in to so many worship services, not only one time now, so you try to make use out of it, you look at it from a different perspective, so I could attend probably 4 or 5 services, different languages, different location, so these are very straightforward kind of things that we see, but for us, we have to see ourselves, all of us, we are facing the same situation. Initially, of course, we might feel, wow, how so tough, how to do. But when we think that not only Malaysia, almost the whole world, a lot of countries also facing the same situation. So slowly we could adjust ourselves, and then emotionally, our understanding, we have to slowly doing adjustment. And then of course, for the whole Malaysia context, we can identify more to one another because we are facing the same challenges, the shared pain and suffering actually, the shared experience, the shared memory. It could really shape us, either way. You can be very destructive, negative, and it could be very constructive. So it's depending on how we move. This is a very interesting question. Of course, there must be some biblical basis than people trying to claim something, So people may say that, God could do anything, good or bad, whatever, it's all Him. Or even they can quote Exodus, where the 10 plagues happening, where God sent to these people, But of course, it could be, people say it's the Satan because, Satan also tempt this Jesus Christ. Or even Satan also try to, bring this so-called harm, to Job, right? Or even in the book of Luke, it could be the Satan who caused the bondage, to certain people. But all these are, of course, one of way of looking at things. But there are also other kind of biblical texts, in which someone asked Jesus whether that person, was having this type of sickness is because of his own sin or the sin of the parents. So it is not just 2, it could be more, And of course, in James, chapter 1, the author also tells us, that going through this so-called suffering, trouble, trial, actually is rather common, So whether which should we look at it, it's difficult for us to simply or look at it narrowly and then say, okay, this should be the situation. To me, I will say, I don't know. I would say I do not know. But at least the author of James tells us that when we are facing with this type of trial and testing, we have to look at it from a different perspective. The book of James tells us that when we go through this, it helps us to produce good virtue, perseverance, patience, and even you say we have to go, and finish it up until we even become more complete. And even a blessing is that, when we are facing with this type of difficulties, we don't know how to sometimes respond and react. And the book of James also tells us, verse 5, he said, if we are lack of wisdom, we can ask God to give us the wisdom. So that we will know how to, bring ourselves or behave ourselves during this challenging time. And even people can use another, they can use, this is the end of the world coming. So all kind of, saying, claims and whatever, I don't think these are helpful at the moment of time. Of course, there are some biblical basis here and there. But I think more importantly, what could we learn from here and how should we move out of this? Martin Luther, in one time, people asked him, about the coming of the end time. Martin Luther answered, quite wisely. He said, even if I'm quite certain tomorrow the world will go into pieces, today I'm still going to plant my apple tree. This is really something that we could learn, right? And Bible also tells us we should be the light and the salt of the world. That is one of the purpose that we are here, as ambassador of Christ, as the light. Even the smallest light could shine brightest during the darkest night. So I think this is even more important for us as Christians and believers, how to live out our testimony. Bear good testimony, to love God and to love one another. Isn't this what the Bible tells us? What is the most important? Is to love God, to love our neighbors. So that's why when we wanted to have safety SOP, we try not to go everywhere that we like, without proper SOP. Is not because, it's a fashion. No, it's because we love our neighbors and also we love ourselves. That is a way of exhibiting, a Christian love, right? So all these are very important for us, when we look at the situation. So of course, how long it will be extended, we don't know. As long as the current situation going on, there will be a lot of safety SOP to adhere to, and of course for physical gathering in the congregations and other meetings, of course it will be affected. And until that we are quite sure that the vaccine could be found, So in between this time, of course, safety SOP, it is strongly encouraged that our people, in congregation, our pastors, our leaders, to try to adhere to and also pay attention to the government announcement, okay? And we actually, since 18th of March, we of course we have prepared that the church shouldn't have any physical gathering. And that is very clear instructions or advisory given to our people, So, of course, it is very hard, but then for the common good of everyone, So, we have to follow, or even, before that, we have to make hard decision, because it has been there, everywhere in the world, it's coming. So, this is the response that we say we shouldn't have. Not only the Sunday worship service, but other gathering, Bible studies, prayer meeting, fellowship, cell groups, all these should put on hold at the moment, because we do not want to create issues, for the community, for people, especially for the more the seniors and the juniors. So I think it is good for us to do that. And of course, we have to go and to think of, out of this, what could we do? We cannot totally just stop, And people still will have challenges, difficulties, uncertainties, fear, worries, anxiety, So this is something that it is important for the church, for the pastors, that we still encourage that we should use whatever modern technology to be connected with the people. People who need, to hear the voice of their pastors, because pastor is like shepherd to them, The sheep has to listen, or wanted to listen, and it's very comforting. And of course, we encourage people to spend more time, In the past, probably we are so busy, right? We also hard to attend prayer meeting. But now, online prayer meeting, it could have more people to attend. Bible study, people will have time. Of course, we cannot assume everybody will be like that. At least we say that is an opportunity to do that. And even if you cannot join that time, you can join it later on. So that means we make the resources, the connections available, on the time, on the spot, the time when we have online, but also continuously. So these are some of the changes that we are doing. And of course, we ask our pastors, our office, all must, follow the instruction that they should work from home, stay back home, So all this, I think, as a responsible citizen, this is part of our responsibility. We do it. Yeah, I think this is a good question. As probably you may discover that during this challenging time, we have actually, do some changes. Some of the ministry we have to put on hold, cancel, postpone. Like the youth, like even the National Lutheran Conference. Or we say no, we will cancel for this year. And many other things, meeting, we say no, we cannot continue. We have to go to media. That means we'll go to switch it on to online, to Zoom meeting or whatever, And then we try to create more platform. The youth can come together, to the platform. And then the youth, usually we have this understanding, they are more savvy, to the IT thing. So that's why we say, okay, then we have a talk or conference, via the virtual meeting or the Zoom meeting or VBAX meeting, So we also address issue like how to overcome some financial difficulty during this challenging time, but all on the internet, And of course, we have to switch or redeploy some of our resources into the so-called the social concern. Especially we have started the COVID-19 relief fund, and because we see, this pandemic will cause a lot of challenges to those, especially, they only depend on their daily wages, And then if now they could not do anything, it could cause a lot of difficulties, especially to one of the most marginalized community, that is the Orang Asli community. And of course, we have migrant workers, we have some of these low-income group, So those who are in need, So that's why we say we could mobilize, and we set up this donation drive to at least provide them with the basic necessities, the food, the provisions, And of course, our social concern and then the OA, they have shared before this. I think some of us have listened to their sharing, and which I think this is very good. This is one of it. And of course, our centers and homes, mostly they still continue, like the seniors homes, for the old folks home, they still continue. Of course, we have to be very careful, So we thank God with these committees, they are all very alert. They know what they should do, and they still continue to provide the necessary helps, assistance to the people, And even the children home, we temporarily, actually we send them back to their grandparents or their father or mother, because they are very young. I think it's good that since their father or mother or grandparents still around, so it's good that they take care. And at the same time, we don't forget them. We still send them the foods and provisions. So at least we see our people under such a challenging situation, they walk second miles. And this is really encouraging, And not only that, since some of us will face the challenge of what? Maybe need someone to talk to. So the social concern also set up a hotline, So I think this is something, as a bishop, really, we are so proud of our people, that they know the needs and they are willing to serve, to walk the second miles. And of course, to the media, just now I already briefly touched, but at the same time, we also, have set up an ad hoc team to do, online worship services. I think this is very tough for us because many of us hardly do that. And we are thankful because our teams, they are gifted and they are willing. Some are gifted, not necessarily willing. I think this is things that we can put it together by God's grace. And teamwork is so important. And this will be something that we need to think ahead. Because if the movement control or conditional MCO is continued, so which means it will impact our church greatly. If it limits us to a certain number of people who can gather. So that means we need to emphasize more using the modern technology to help the people, like online worship services, like online Bible study, equipping. And also, we have to train our people, because one pastor, one leader cannot take care of so many people. So that means cell group, small group will be to activated. And then it may be even more taxing. You have to train these people so that they are confident enough to lead the group, and they could perform, in a small group manner. It's as if that we are going back to the first century, Right? The first century is small group. But doesn't mean that we don't need the big group. Of course we need, because the church is actually consists of all of us, And when we have those gatherings, it's talking about the physical presence, of us all. But during this challenging time, I think we need to think out of the box, and we need to do, maybe even more difficult. But by God's grace, by our ESCO, our deans, our pastors, our leaders, our members, as we put our resources together, put our mind and brain together, actually, we could, even improve and excel, and even, bring more constructive elements into our gathering and the church as a whole. Yeah, this is a real challenge because not many of us are actually having e-banking. So many of our congregation, the pastors, of course, from the feedback is affected. But we don't have the real figure now because everybody is still, couldn't really give us an update. But no matter how, we understand it affects some of our people. And at the same time, some maybe, still God have, blessed them that they could still continue because they still receive salary, they still have some income. And of course, the Bible teaches that we should give and offer, proportionally accordingly. So that's why I think we have to accept it is a fact, but at the same time, we encourage our people, to put aside those offering that they have prepared before. And of course, if you can do e-banking transfer, then we encourage them to give back to their own respective congregations. Yep, the ministerium, the role of the ministerium is actually to discuss, especially topic on doctrines and confessions. It is more like an advisory board to the church. And the next ministerium we are going to have will be in July. And one of the main concern now, of course, is the Holy Communion. So at the moment of time during the MCO, of course the church encouraged us to practice some extension. Extension means we try to fast for this Holy Communion. No, actually it's also helping us that we are eager, when it is physically possible, that we're looking forward to this Holy Sacrament. And of course, it is also concerning the issue of teaching our people, educating our people, that when they do it, at least they know what are they doing and why are they doing. So, and this, of course, we have a certain processes that the ministerium discuss, if the pastor could discuss, the leaders could discuss, the members could be, be informed, and of course, the ESCO must approve whatever decision, this recommendation by the ministerium. So at this moment of time, we are still, following what we have advised our people to do, to just fast for it. Yeah, this is a very, real issues. So since April, and this second month, May, we did not have this so-called Holy Communion. But as a church, we have not only one congregation. In Malaysia, we have very diverse. We have the Bahasa, we have the English, we have the Chinese, the Cantonese, the migrants, the languages. So we need to consider in a more holistic manner. So that's why when we do also, we must understand what is our understanding about Holy Communion. So, and we need to study. And of course, still there is no kind of a decision whether we should have it earlier. That is not, decided yet. So of course we are a church, and we have different congregations, different people, different education background, different language group. And when we do the things, we hope that this thing could be done in a holistic manner. At least we understand why we are doing this, you know. So to us, we look at it, the Holy Communion, you know, is the real presence, whereby Jesus Christ said in the night in which he was betrayed, he gives thanks, he break the bread, and then he give it to his disciples, saying, "This is my body given for you. Do this for the remembrance of me." So that's why we are, you know, looking at Jesus Christ. He said that this is my body given for you. It's a real presence. And through our understanding, you know, the ordained pastors, you know, they are being called publicly to administer this Holy Communion. So this is something that God have given us to bless us as a church, you know. So we do not want to rush it through, you know, without proper discussion, and so that it will bring us blessing, rather than when we do it one here, one there, and then without proper kind of a process. It may bring the negative result of what we, you know, originally supposed to receive. So I think as a denomination and as a church, we have to consider that. Yeah, as a church, you know, especially in our context, a church, or for us as a denomination, we are apolitical parties. Means we do not take side to any political parties. You know, as long as it is legally, you know, being established. But the Bible also teaches that what is pleasing before God. You know, like a responsible citizen of this country, a rakyat, you know. So of course, one of the very important things we need to do is to fulfill our responsibility. You know, like paying taxes, like, you know, following the rules and law, you know, all this we are doing, you know. And of course, the Bible also teaches, and it is actually quite a universal value, like addressing common issues of in the book of Micah, you know, what is pleasing before God, something that is just, compassionate, you know. So all this is important. So that's why for the church, we address all this, whether it is just, whether it is, you know, good to the people, you know. So this is what we are trying to talk about. And for us, we also, you know, uphold the Rukun Negara, right? The Rukun Negara, which is a common for all of us, right? The Rukun Negara who teaches, you know, that we should, you know, have this respect of Constitution, and then we also should have this kind of, so what, our king and country, of course, we respect them, you know, we honor them. But then there are also things, as Raya, we are all, you know, considered as part of this country. You know, we contribute to the country, to the betterment, to the progress. So that means that we recognize they are people who are in need, and then we should help them. But also at the same time, that, you know, we should be equally or mutually respect each other. So I think this is very important for the country in order to move forward to progress, you know. And of course, the parties, they have to fight for their own, you know, agenda and their own so-called plan or whatever. That is their political parties, you know. For us, we look at it from a very different perspective, and, you know, as a rakyat, you know, as to address issues which is for the common good of everyone. First and foremost, thank you for this opportunity to have these sessions, to talk and to discuss and to share. But of course, during challenging time, it teaches, a lot of lessons. That we are actually, equal in front of the virus, and in front, actually, God created us, in His own image. So that's why I think it's important for us to respect one another, despite our differences. And also, we see that it helps, that we see and we are glad that because people are coming together to help one another. And even for the church, we see that how this congregation or people who are, in a better equipped, they could help those who are in lacking. I think this is very beautiful, very beautiful. And of course, we see people walking for second miles to help, and we encourage our people not to panic, stay calm. And these situations, no matter how bad, it will just for momentary, things will, pass. Once the things are being settled down, vaccines found, then of course it causes some difficulties for us. And don't be paranoid, and then, don't be, xenophobia, people say, And I think it also helping us to think, and not just for ourselves, think out of the box, and also taking this opportunity, how to make the best out of it, right? Like in the past, maybe you couldn't spend time with family. Now, maybe it's a good time. Last time, maybe you are no good in certain thing. Maybe it's the time to pick up. For me, also, I had to pick up some modern technology. It's the same. And of course, maybe for family, there is time for devotion together. Because in the past, so busy, everyone is so busy. So maybe this is a good chance to do that. And for those who are very busy in the past, take the time to have short rest, so that it prepares us, like the Bible says, we take a short rest so that we will soar. Those who, rest in the Lord, you will soar like the eagle. I think this is something that we could, for every one of us, even for pastors also, they have been working hard, and of course, this situation, some even more difficult for them, but still, by God's grace, we support one another, we pray for one another. The challenge is real, but God is even more real to us. God is even more real. So let's pray, let's stay focused, and let's bless one another and help one another. And this is something that we could learn together.